No rush. I can't even open my notes for the show. Hang on. It's the big you telling us we shouldn't be working on a bank holiday.
Well, it doesn't feel like a bank holiday at all, does it? Because it's halfway through May, pretty much.
I don't understand that sentence. All the bank holidays are in May. What are you talking about?
So was there one last week as well?
No, there's one at the end of the month.
Oh, right, okay. Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello, Nicola. You're in Blighty. How is it?
I am. Good morning. I'm looking out over 30 degrees in Shoreham yesterday.
I know, belter, isn't it?
It's all very well, but everyone was telling me it was 4 degrees, so I've only bought winter woolies.
Oh, I've broken out my first summer top this morning.
I had to buy one yesterday for my talk tomorrow, because I just thought, oh God, everything I've got so hot.
Well, talk me through the logistics. You arrived on Saturday. Today's bank holiday Monday. We should warn the listener that we're 4 days late in recording this week, and that's my fault, and I'll explain why in a minute. But you're going to London tomorrow, so when's your gig?
No, I'm going to London tonight to stay.
All right.
And I might go out with some of the coaches tonight, but I'm not sure about that yet. And then my gig's tomorrow.
Okay.
And and I'm I'll tell you about that in the Fuel the Fire section. But
okay. And when are you going home?
I'm going home on Sunday.
And did you leave Heather and what's his name there?
Ricardo, yes.
Ricardo. So they're having a week without you, are they?
Well, no, they haven't. They only came for a week, so they had 4 days with me, and they had they're having a few days without me, which is nice because they're discovering places for themselves.
Okay.
Heather texted me last night because it's the Cardamini Jazz Festival, and I tried to fix her up with a sit-in, and she was actually in the right venue for the sit-in last night at the right time. But she texted me to say, "I knew we were in trouble when they brought the banjo out." And I said, Can't you swiftly remix At Last with a Deliverance theme? And she said, no, it's not that kind of banjo. She said, it's a trad jazz banjo.
Okay. Oops. Okay.
So
did she do it anyway, or what?
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard from her yet. So hopefully...
It's a bit of a cliffhanger, Nicola.
I know, a cliffhanger for next week, yeah. But the contact was made. I mean, the idea is for her to come out and do her own gig next year with someone else. So that
would be wonderful.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So but the thing I didn't bargain was jet lag. I was awake, bing, at 5:45 this morning because not only is it really, really light at that time of the morning in England, whereas it doesn't actually get light till about 7 in Greece, no matter what time of year it is. But I'm right outside the Co-op delivery bay. So not used to the noise.
And where are you staying, or with whom?
I'm staying at Irving's place.
Oh, okay.
He's rather conveniently gone off to Greece, one of the Greek islands for a week. Haldariki or something.
Yes.
Some sort of
Halkidiki.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
Yes.
some sort of activity tennis coaching holiday.
Oh, sounds like death on legs.
No, I'll tell you, I could never have stayed married to him. He's far too keen on activities on holidays.
But you don't have to do them with him. I mean, I like it when a husband has something to do and he goes off all day. That's lovely. Yeah,
but he always tried to make me do them too. And Jo is very keen on activity holidays. She has been known to zip line down a South American mountain on occasions and things. So they're
not only would I rather die than zip line, but I honestly think zip lining would probably kill me.
Put it this way, they're much more evenly suited and matched than he and I ever were.
Yes.
I spent a lovely few days with my children, who treated me to breakfast yesterday, which was nice. And
nice.
It's been Phoebe's birthday, you see. It was last Wednesday and I missed it, but I got here in time to join in some of the celebrations. Yep. So it's all been good. What about you? Oh, no, one more thing, right? I paid £24.50 to upgrade my luggage to 21 kilograms from 15, always being over my luggage allowance and always having to pay for it dearly, although I must say Kalamata Airport is a bit slack at that sort of thing. But I got to the airport to find my luggage only weighed 12.5 kilograms. I've never been that.
You're getting good at this, aren't you? getting good at this digital nomad thing.
I know, 12.5 kilograms. I thought, and that was winter woolies as well. So God knows,
it's impressive. I mean, if you don't own any stuff, which I barely do anymore, you can't really pack it in a bag and take it away with you, can you?
I think it's my newfound love of jeans. I think because I've just packed 3 pairs of jeans and 1 pair of trousers, and that was pretty much it. And the rest of it was just, t-shirts and stuff.
And actually, you could have recycled 2 pairs of jeans. You didn't even need that, did you? Because you're staying in Irving's, and presumably he's got a washing machine.
Yes, he has indeed. Yes. So yeah, there you go. £24.50 wasted. You live and learn.
You do.
Yeah. What about you then?
Well, all my news is rather old now because I prepared this to tell it to you 4 days ago. But anyway, since we've last spoken, I've had my birthday. I had a nice day off. Yeah, I had a nice day off and a pub lunch. But more importantly, that lovely cartoon that Richard made for me.
Which was so like you.
I know. Well, it was taken from the photograph.
Yes, but it's a real skill, isn't it, to in a few very simple lines capture the essence.
And also that he got the little musical notes coming in through the window, which is my newfound passion for birdsong.
Absolutely.
How sweet is that?
Yeah, no, it was lovely. It was a lovely present.
Yeah, well, my birthday was a Friday, and on the Saturday, my hostess here and I went to Waitrose in the nearest relatively posh town. And I saw a famous actor while I was going to get the kefir. Do you know Michael Kitchen from Foyle's War? No. Well, you would know him if you saw him, Michael Kitchen. He's very famous. He's not just in Foyle's War, he's in everything. And once you've Googled him later, you'll see him in everything. He's got very, very pretty blue eyes. And I'm a very good celebrity spotter because they look so very ordinary and much smaller in real life that you have to have your antenna really waggling because they get very good at looking small and unimportant as if they're not quite there, which is a feat in its own right. They don't want to be recognised buying their kefir in Waitrose, obviously, and they don't want people to go, "Oh my God, I love you," from Foyle's War. So, and of course, my hostess really loved him, but she missed him, so that was quite funny. I've got quite a lot of stories to tell you, and I'm not quite sure which section they'll turn into, so I'll just blab on for a bit. But since the sun has come out, and you are here to witness it, and I am warm, I'm ever so slightly warming, pardon the pun, to where I'm living here. And it's got the same appeal as a town in the Cotswolds that I stayed in for a week a few years ago, in as much as everything that you want is in walking distance. So you could get all your jobs done in seconds, which is quite a strange thing. For instance, my hostess walked down to Morrison's and back today, and it's not a walk I would consider, but she was there and back in 12 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So she did a very long walk and back in 12 minutes. And I've got a very funny story to tell you about the laundrette, because you'll remember that when I arrived, it was a little bit cold and damp, and I wasn't convinced that I could get my sheets and towels turned around in any reasonable time frame. So I took them to the laundrette, and the lady said yes, she would do a what do you call it, a something wash, a service wash for me. Yes, look, I've forgotten the language. It's 30 or 40 years since I used it.
I know, I haven't been to a laundrette for a long time.
No, exactly. But and the second time I went, you could have blown me off my shoes, because I said, "What time shall I pop back later?" And I took it in on a Tuesday morning, I think. And she said Friday would be good. So 4 days to turn around a service wash in this town, which I thought was very funny. And she explained, well, so-and-so isn't in today, and she'll be very busy tomorrow because she isn't in today, and we're half closed on Thursday, so how about Friday? And unfortunately, because she'd done it in the day the first time, I wasn't ready. So I sort of came out all over London-y, do you know what I mean? Which is 4 days to do a service. I didn't. But if I'd been quicker about it, I wouldn't have raised quite so many eyebrows, literally and metaphorically. But I thought that was quite funny. But if I was staying here, I've realised that in this nomading thing, I've got a very good propensity to make the best of everything. And there is a very nice centre where they do activities here, choir on a Monday and men's sheds and women's sheds, but it's also riddled with volunteer opportunities. So if I was staying longer, I think I'd probably do a little bit of a volunteer stint in there. It's possibly even women's sheds. I've no idea what goes on in women's sheds.
Really,
it's quite fun.
I need to know.
Yeah, well, I will let you know. I'll let you know, yes. And of course, there's Holistic Helen, and I got the car done, and I've had the car washed, and we've been out for a piece of cake. So life's looking up on the geographical front. But what I'm leading up to tell you here, and why I had to postpone last Thursday, rather similar to your story, but not exactly the same, was that this could almost be what's fueled your fire as well. So we'll see how we go with it, because it's quite a long one. Sorry. I'm turning into a bit of a weirdo, because Somerset, where I am, is where I went to school. It is also next door to Dorset, where my mother is from. In fact, you can be in Dorset, Somerset and Wiltshire within 10 miles of here. So nothing is very far away. And a chap that I went to school with, who I'm going to tell you about in a minute, lives in Taunton, which is where we went to school, and sent his daughters there after we did. And I also invited myself to see a person I've never met except on Facebook. And on Wednesday, I'm going to have lunch with my cousin Jane in Dorchester. And I have two cousins, Bert and Sue, who live in Somerset. So I've suddenly turned into this sort of weirdo that invites myself around to see people. But so far, for the same reason that I had to cancel you last Thursday, the only one of these I've carried out was Henry, because Henry was the head boy of our school, and he saved me from being expelled in 1971. And then after we left school in about 1981, I had a crisis in my career, and he saved me then as well. And in return for that, he became my lodger in a beautiful house I lived in on Clapham Common. And then when I went up to Marylebone High Street to live, he came up there as well. And cut a long story short, I haven't actually seen Henry or his wife Tara, who's a garden designer and who made many lovely gardens for me when I lived in London. I haven't actually seen them for about 20 years.
Wow.
But because we were at school together, I had many friends in common, and I scoured all of them for an email address or a phone number for Henry. No. Nobody could provide me with his contact details, which worried me slightly, because I'd seen a picture of him on Facebook and I knew his hair had turned white. And I wondered if perhaps there was something wrong with him. And neither he nor his wife replied to me on Facebook. And eventually I thought, well, I'll tell you what, I'll try directory inquiries. Cool. So I found, yes, directory inquiries, got a number for Henry, which looked, well, it was in a tiny microdot village, but not the same address that I had. And I rang it. And he screens his calls. So the surprise was somewhat spoiled, because I had to say my name before he answered the call, if that makes sense. But unbeknownst to me until the day I actually met him, he was so far away from the phone, he hadn't actually heard that it was me. So the surprise wasn't spoiled. And then when he picked up the phone, he was just going out through the front door. Honestly, this is the man I haven't seen or heard of or spoken to for 20 years. And I said, hello, Henry, it's Judith Morgan. He said, oh, hello, Judith. Honestly, like we'd spoken yesterday. And we arranged, I think that was probably the Saturday we went for the cake and saw Michael Kitchen. And I arranged to go and see him and his wife the following Wednesday. And I knew that the last 2 miles towards their house were off-road roads, not made up roads, not proper roads, like dirt tracks. And my car isn't terribly suitable for that. And I'd had that scary warning from Isabel, do you remember, about be careful with your front suspension because you're going to need to replace your car. So I was slightly worried about this, but I found them. I can't remember when I had such a lovely time. We tried in vain to tell each other in the 3 years before we went to the pub quiz all the news that had happened to us in the 20 years. Just wasn't possible to do that, obviously. All three of us gabbing and gabbing and gabbing. Yeah. She gave me a hug like I was a long-lost friend. Actually, it may have been me giving her that hug. I'm not altogether sure. We both gave each other a hug like it was just bliss. And then we went to the pub quiz. And I met all their friends who were totally lovely. We did really well in the pub quiz. I answered some questions they wouldn't have been able to if I hadn't been there. There was cider. There was flirting with the quiz master. Ooh. And I left there when we were chucked out of the pub at 10 to 11. And the most miraculous thing happened to me on the drive home, which was they were all worried about the drive because it was about an hour. But as you know, I don't really drink. I'd had half the cider, but that was it. And I saw this thing and I couldn't quite believe what it was. It was those photographs you see on the internet of the moon, which is so big and so fat and so low, you wonder how the photographers get that image.
Yeah.
Well, that. And it kept me company for an hour on the journey all the way home. This enormous, fat, low moon. I mean, enormous. So much so, I couldn't take my eyes off it. And of course, it was slightly past the full moon, but it was still a very big moon. And did you know that there's a lot of sleep interruption when the moon is full? Because, of course, the sky is full of light, basically. Yeah. And it's sort of unsettling. So I'd had this lovely, lovely, lovely time, this gorgeous, gorgeous moon companion. And then I got home and I looked at my news that had happened when I was out, and cut a long story short, the combination of all three of those things was so exciting. I didn't sleep a wink that night, Wednesday.
Oh, no.
So at 6:30, I sent you a message saying, I've been awake all night. I can't possibly do the podcast this morning. And the thing I was going to do after the podcast was going to see the stranger woman from Facebook. She's not a stranger really, but I've never met her in the flesh. So I had to cancel my Thursday because I just kind of peaked too soon before the bank holiday weekend. It's like, I've described this to you before. When I go out all night, even though I don't drink, I feel hungover because it's just so knackering. It's just so knackering to be out all night or sleepless all night. It's like, I can't. I've just got to cancel my day. So that's it, really. I mean, that's dominated my week. It's just been lovely.
I'm so glad you're having such a fabulous time.
Well, I haven't even done the other ones yet. I cancelled the second one, and the cousins are this week, and then I've had to reschedule one of the cousins as well. So
the thought of you driving around the dark country lanes with your eyes glued on the moon is.
Well, I was on the A303, which is the death road, but nobody else was on it at midnight, so that was quite good. But it was glued, but it was so big and so low and so fat. It was kind of like having a passenger. I don't know how to describe it. It was definitely a spiritual experience. And I know my woo-woos listening will totally get this. It was just heaven.
I do occasionally walk home through the olive groves on my own with no lights when there's a full moon because it is really, really bright.
Yeah. Well, this wasn't a particularly bright one. It was a slightly yellowy, goldy one, but it was so big and so low. Sometimes it was so low, it would disappear behind hedges.
I think there's a word for that kind of moon.
There is, but it wasn't. It wasn't one of those. There is a word for one of those, but it wasn't one of those. Funnily enough. Okay. Yeah, I kept wanting to call it that, but it wasn't that.
Oh, right. Well, I've got on the fueled my fire bit. I've got a little. I might need your help a little bit here, and it might be
okay. Well, I'm going to need your help very much in the focus of the week, so go for it.
Okay, all right. So, as you know, I'm speaking at the International Coach Federation annual conference tomorrow, and it's in County Hall, London, and it's very much bigger than they thought it was going to be. It's I don't think it's sold out as such, but they've got sold many more tickets than they did last year. And out of 350 tickets sold reported to me as of last week, 85 of those people are coming to my breakout session.
Okay.
Which is a lot out of, when you consider there's 4 breakout sessions in the morning, 4 late morning, 4 early afternoon, and 4 late afternoon.
And what have you said you're going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about how to be everywhere online, build a powerful brand, and all that stuff. But first of all, I'm sitting on this panel, this experts panel.
Yeah.
And that's the bit. I mean, I've got to say, this whole experience has been really interesting. They're extremely organised and they're extremely corporate about it all. So it has been quite an interesting experience. My opening comments will need to address what the future might hold for coaching, the factors driving change in current practice and thinking, and how you believe the profession of coaching will evolve. And then she's got some questions for me in case nobody asks any from the floor, which are, what is the number one mistake you see coaches making when they try and optimize their business online?
Number 1 and number 4 are easy. Number 2 and number 3 are impossible.
Well, number 2 being the factors driving change in current practice and thinking.
Yawn. That's an ICF question, isn't it? It's not a you and me on the entrepreneurial side of coaching question at all.
No, but I do think that I was just interested to hear your thoughts on those things, really.
The first one, ask me the first one.
What the future might hold for coaching. Do they mean, I think they might mean, the action of being coached or the action of coaching other people. I think that's quite bright, isn't it? Because everyone is going to need all the support they can get in careers and businesses as time goes on.
Well, that's a very good positive message to be putting across at such an event, I think.
Yeah.
And as such, you can hypnotise them that's a reality they can expect, whereas I expect some of them are struggling a bit. What's number 2?
The factors driving change in current practice and thinking.
I have no idea where to begin to answer that one because I don't do any studying around the world of coaching.
Well, I might talk about how on that one. I thought I might talk about how Phoebe is now 23, my daughter, and she's 2 years away from entering the biggest sort of patch. 25 to 35 is the biggest patch of people who are striving to create a career. But how are they ever going, how are the professional coaches who could help her ever going to reach her because they are not, she doesn't visit websites and she doesn't read her emails.
Yeah.
So I thought that might be the 2 factors.
Yes, good one. Yeah. What's number 3?
How do you believe the profession of coaching will evolve? Now, that's the profession of it, isn't it?
Well, we're professional coaches because we take money for it.
Yes.
So that's all it means, I think. I don't know. I haven't even given any thought to this. Have you? I said 2 and 3 are hard.
I know. Yes. So I need to think about that a little bit more. But I think they're going to. I think I'll say.
But they're going to address these questions on the panel, so everybody else will have quite a lot of views about this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And your job is to be the outsider, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I will say that I feel that the personal brand of coaches will become ever more important as there are more coaches training all day long.
Yes.
Having a personal brand and having a presence, a strong presence online that makes you stand out from the crowd will become more and more essential.
Yeah.
I might even throw in the old one, the little one about productizing your creating a program, a signature program, and creating a product out of that because it makes it easy to market to people. Which I know she wants me to be divisive and controversial, so I think I'll throw that one in there.
Easy.
Yeah.
And the next one, in case people didn't ask, there was something, wasn't there?
What are the enablers and challenges to the future?
No, that wasn't the one you asked. There was another one before that, which I could answer.
Oh yeah, what is the number one mistake you see coaches making when they try and optimize their business online?
That's easy.
Yeah, they're trying to appeal to everyone, don't they?
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. There's a couple more. What are the enablers and challenges to the futures of coaching, and what ideas do you have about how the industry will evolve over the next 20 years?
Enablers, and what was the other one?
Enablers and challenges.
Oh, such awful language. And the third question again?
What ideas do you have about how the industry will evolve over the next 20 years?
I hate people who call things an industry. I really don't envy this gig at all, Nicola. Be your brilliant self in the breakout session and let the other coaches come to the fore in the panel.
Yeah, well, I won't. Yeah, so especially as I've got 85 booked, I don't need to be drumming up people for my breakout session.
No, you certainly don't. No.
Yeah, it is all very corporate, and good on them for inviting someone like me who's.
I agree with that. Yes, I do.
So, yes, and I especially won't be wearing business-like wear as instructed on the instructions.
No, I mean, frankly, if the temperature is the same as this tomorrow, then hopefully nobody else will be either.
No, quite. Okay, so that's fueled by fire. What's fueled yours?
Yeah, well, I was going to tell you something else, but it's sort of been superseded by events. So I'm going to tell you a testimonial that somebody left about my book this morning in the Ask Judith group. Just finished Your Biz Your Way, Judith. Absolutely loved it. I feel like I have been on a lovely walk with you where we were deep in conversation. You were forceful when you needed to be and not afraid to just tell me to stop it as and when required. But you were gentle, understanding and supportive too. You just know what I'm thinking, feeling, resisting, and also what I want to achieve. And you have the unerring faith that I'm capable of it too. Simply brilliant. Thank you so much.
Very nice. I've been reading some of your I don't know how, but I clicked through on something and I ended up reading some of your questions on your blog.
Yeah.
And I was struck anew by how good the answers are.
Yeah, thanks, darling.
That's great. And I love the way you're sharing it all so abundantly and freely, because nobody's ever going to be able to put the whole book together from what you're doing, but they would get a really, really good sense of the how they ought to buy the book.
I'm in two minds about it, but I think it is the right thing to do in every sense, and it does give me all this content I can use. And Should we do focus of the week?
Yes, go on then. So outline it for us.
Okay, so as you might have read in last week's newsletter, because that was supposed to come out after we were speaking rather than before we were speaking, I received this email on my birthday, which was headed "Quick Question," and it says from somebody. To be honest, I'm not sure I knew her, but she had my email address and she didn't use the contact form, so she must have known me. I am currently putting together an expert roundup on small business ideas. I would love you to contribute. I think that your insight as a business owner and small business coach yourself will be really invaluable. This is the question. If you were setting up a new business today, what type of business would you open? And in my notes for this session, I've said to you, warning, I haven't done any thinking about this in advance. I'm hoping this session is going to bring me the answers. They only want 100 words, so I'm going to have to be uncharacteristically pithy. So, and first of all, I hadn't read the question very carefully. And so I kept driving about the countryside thinking, if I was starting a business again when I was 22, what would I start? If I was starting a business again when I was 22 in 2018, what would I start? And if I was starting over today again in 2018, age 63, what would I start? And I think the last one is the one they want me to answer. So if I was setting up a new business today in 2018, so I think it's the 2018ness rather than me or my age that's important. What type of business would you open? Have you had thoughts about this?
Well, I think I would do what I am actually going to do, which is I think I would start an Amazon FBA store.
Ah, okay. I saw something about that this morning.
And I think I would do that because I've been resisting doing it all this time because I thought, oh no, it's not for me. I'm not detail orientated. I'll never be able to do it. And the fact that I've learnt a new skill, i.e. trading cryptocurrencies recently, and I'm doing all right at it, means that I think I can learn detail-orientated stuff. So I've blown my own limiting belief out of the water. But then when I started to look into the Amazon thing, because as you know, Neil, my friend, has got a really excellent Amazon course, and I know it's excellent because I went to speak for a load of people. They're doing very well.
I just need to interrupt you very quickly. I know what this stands for, but could you please explain to the listener what FBA stands for?
Oh, it means Fulfilled by Amazon.
And tell us what that means.
Okay. It means that instead of ordering stuff from China and having it sit in your garage and then you send it off to Amazon or the customer, you get your stuff ordered from China, you get it rebranded to suit your brand, and then it sits in a warehouse in China waiting to go straight, and it goes straight to Amazon and they store it for you and they dispatch it for you. So you don't ever have to have anything in your garage anymore.
Okay.
And it's all completely virtual. And I tell you what made me start thinking about it is because I've been watching those lovely videos, Life Full of Meaning, that you put
Yes.
And I know that
she does. Yeah.
Lisa does physical products. Her husband does physical products.
Yes.
Store.
Yeah.
I suddenly thought to myself, why am I resisting this? And I know that it was because I had an idea for a product that I was trying to get prototypes and made and everything. And I just thought, let go of that, Nicola. That's a lot of work and a lot of difficulty.
Yeah.
Why don't you just do what everyone else is, which is find a fantastic product, buy it wholesale from Amazon, from Alibaba, get it rebranded and get it onto Amazon in your store. So that was a little bit of a floodgate for me about Well, I then joined up to Neil's course because I knew how excellent it was. If I want to learn from anyone, I want it to be from someone who I know is actually doing really well with it, and I know lots of people in there who are. And I started to watch the videos, at which point I swiftly became heavily overwhelmed again because there's a lot of, well, not a lot of, yes, there is quite a bit of research, and I didn't want to make a mistake. So I thought, okay, let's buy the Fast Start coaching session and product discovery session.
Can I just say here, if we're going to learn something new, there's a lot to learn, isn't there, always?
Well, there is.
And also we'd be effectively 22 because we're starting over. And I wasn't scared of loads and loads of learning when I was 22. And not really now, but, you know, we live in an age a bit of wanting instant gratification. So I think something worth saying, you know, if we're going to nail our colours to the mast and say, I'm setting up a new business, then we've got to put our back into learning how to do it well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And then I suddenly thought, and this is the important point I'm trying to get to, is I thought I'm going to go into partnership with someone who loves research and detail here because I am not this person.
No.
I'm never going to be this person, but I do need to go into partnership with someone. And it needs to be someone whose skills are directly opposite to mine. Now, when you and I were in business, we were awfully similar. And then
we're top heavy. You don't need two captains on a boat. You so do not, no.
And then we had, you know, there was Steve, who was the only person who had different skills to us. And we, you know, he wasn't interested in driving the ship. He just wanted to be told which direction to drive it in.
Yes.
So I think that's the thing I would do differently is I would go for something that's simple and that has got an ongoing demand and that you don't have to work so hard to sell. The benefits are immediately obvious. And I would go into partnership with someone and I would completely concentrate on working to my strengths and find a partner who is strong in the things I'm not strong in.
Yeah. Well, your wealth dynamics should help you with that, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there was just one thing to remember. And I think I say it in the book. It is essential to have somebody who's not doubling up on the strengths we already have.
Yeah.
But they are very annoying.
Well, of course they are.
They're very annoying because they're opposites. It's like
Yes.
opposites attract in a marriage. It's like, oh God, you're so annoying. But you wouldn't be sexy if you weren't annoying. In the partnership sense, in the business sense. I mean, Steve used to get on our wick and we used to get on his.
Vice versa.
Yes, but we couldn't have done it without the opposite side of the triangle. That was a triangle, but yours will be a seesaw in a way. And it's a bit like sometimes Sarah, who's so different from you and so useful to you, is that you drive each other bonkers at times, So just be prepared that the person, it isn't an attraction of whatever the opposite of opposite is, likes, it's not like you and me, we're the same. What we're drawn to in each other is our fast start entrepreneurialism. We want somebody who's slow and methodical and to our minds quite boring, but actually they're not boring in the least. They're just different from us.
Yeah, so
they're quite annoying for that, and it's quite difficult to manage a business partnership where you're opposite. So all my clients in my accounting days, chalk and cheese, brilliant idea, you drive each other mental and always split up.
Always split up.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, because that that marvelous attraction of opposites thing. Yeah. One's good at this, one's good at that, one's good at this, one's good at that, and it's brilliant. And then in the end, they can't hack it. You might get 10 years out of it, and it might.
Well, I think that's the other point I'm making, is that I would be starting a business that is sellable.
Yeah.
So that when you do get to that point and you can't work together any longer, when you want to go in your opposite directions, you've got an asset that you can sell.
Yes.
That doesn't depend on you delivering.
Yes.
So these are the things I have learned over, and this is what I'm going to be doing next.
Yeah.
Although I love Clicks and Leads Academy, I do. And in fact, I was saying to the children last night, we were talking about what happened if either of their dad or me dropped down dead.
Yeah.
And I said, well, the Clicks and Leads Academy will be an asset that could be sold because a coach might want it, who because it's got an automated marketing system now, and it will have recurring income, so it will have a value to someone who wants that audience and who could deliver.
Do you know anybody?
Yeah, I do actually. I know several people that might be interested in it.
Okay, well, I'd be leaving that around so they know who to approach, because I think it is very you-centric. But if you think it could be transferred to any of those people on the short list, leave that information available.
Yeah, I will. Yes, I will. And even if, it would definitely be worth something, in terms of the marketing machine and the mailing list and all that stuff, and the customers, even the clients, in fact. So,
yes, but it's a fire sale if you're dead, so it's quite hard to get money for that.
Yeah. Or I said to them, you could just hire someone who is, you need Sarah's help.
Yes.
Find someone, but you can hire someone to deliver the coaching.
Yes, this means you and Sarah can't go on the same EasyJet aeroplane together. Ever.
Good point. So what about you? What do you start?
I think this is really hard. Now, I think if I have one regret over the last 40 years is that I've done such a sedentary job, sitting down.
Oh, right, okay.
I wouldn't, age 63, start a business that required me to stand up, but at 22, I would start. I wish I hadn't sat down for 40 years.
Well, that's an interesting one.
Because it's impacted my health and my knees.
Yeah, of course. What kind of thing would involve you not sitting down so much then?
Gardening, hairdressing. Mind you, all the people I know that do standing up jobs, all the people I know who do standing up jobs have different pressures on their bodies. But something, I don't know, because actually I don't think I'm particularly suited to a physical job, but I'm sad I've had such a sedentary job. That's what I'm saying. If there was one regret I have, it's that I did city down work, and I didn't consider that there was any other work than city down.
Yes, because you were a posh girl, weren't you?
It wasn't that, actually, because now that I think of they offered me teaching, secretarial or nursing, and nursing and teaching are both much more standing up.
Yeah.
I adopted office work. I think I have an inclination towards office work. I think this is nothing to do with being posh, funnily enough, but I just wish there had been, I don't know. So I'm just expressing a regret there. So if I was starting out, you what?
More variation, not necessarily going.
Well, just something that's better for the body than sitting down for a living.
Yeah.
And not really standing up for a living either. I don't know what else, but keeping moving for a living. That's what I would want to do. Something that requires movement.
Suggestions on a postcard for what you could have done that would have kept you.
Well, my friend that I'm staying with cycles 10 miles to work and back every day. 10 miles in one direction and 10 miles back.
Really?
Well, there's your antidote to a city down job, isn't there?
But what if it rains?
Well, sometimes she might take the car.
Oh.
But sometimes you can,
each way.
yes, sometimes you can go off in the morning and it's a lovely day and then you come home wet.
Oh, I wouldn't like that at all.
Anyway, so what business would I be setting up if I were setting up a new business today? I think it's what I put in my newsletter, because I've been unable to think yet of anything I would prefer. So it would probably be, it would have to be about writing.
Okay.
Or speaking like this. So a radio show would be great, but writing, and either become a Kindle bestseller, which is no different than you following Neil's instructions.
Yeah,
because that's a business thing, format. I don't know what we call it, formula. But actually, what I feel very drawn to this week, and maybe we'll revisit this once a year because I think it might change. So many of my clients, no, that's wrong. A smallish percentage of my clients, but I feel for them so much that they are perhaps more, they seem bigger in number than they actually are. I feel very sad for people who are very talented and good at what they do, but will never be marketers.
Yes.
And I love marketing. And maybe using the written word, I could be their promotional angel, which is where I came to in the newsletter, because one of my clients said, what I really need is a promo angel. And then she manifested one. But most people don't manifest a promo angel because there aren't enough promo angels to go around in the world. And if I was starting it now, I'd probably do it on that basis that everybody wants it as well, which is, I want half of your business. You don't have to pay me. I want to get paid by results.
Yeah, manager or a talent agent, isn't it? Or
no, I'd be marketing them. No, I'd be marketing them like I market my own business, like you market your own business. I'd be marketing their thing, because it's a crime that these people are not, their products and services are not in hot demand because they're so good at what they do, but they just loathe the thought of what I put myself through to market my business. And I don't loathe it. I do loathe it at the moment, but I generally don't loathe it.
Give me, without naming any names, give me an example. So,
well, the one example that's on the top of my mind is so bespoke that if I tell you about her, it'll be obvious who she is. So I don't want to do that.
Okay.
And I'm not going to do it for the actual, I would never do it for the actual example I'm going to give you, but it might be useful for tomorrow, the example I'm about to give you. Do you remember a lady we knew when we first started coaching called Jilly something, who called herself the Naked Coach? I remember going to one of my very, very first webinars, and it may even have been run by the ICF. And I remember her saying, I don't want to market myself ever. And I remember thinking, well, dream on, then you're never going to be a coach. Coaching is one of the things that needs more marketing than most things, to be honest, because it isn't something that people need. We think people need it, but they don't think they need it. But my clients do a lot of different things, arty things, not just arty things. No, nobody really likes the extent to which they have to, what they call, blow their own trumpet. And I would quite like to blow their trumpet for them because they're all talented. So funnily enough, I mostly want to do it for my clients because I'm so involved with them, not with people I don't know. I just kind of shrug and think, well, that's your problem then. I don't know how are you going to eat in 3 months' time. But the people I care about, I think I could do it. I mean, if I care about them enough to coach them, I could do a good job for being their promotional angel, if that makes sense. I'm not going to do it, but that's the only thing I could think of.
I've acted as a manager many times in my life, in the music industry particularly, and I did that only for people I thought were brilliant. And I still try and do it for Heather now. You know, I still try and open doors for Heather, even though Heather would rather just carry on not doing anything towards becoming a jazz singer like she professes that she wants to.
Yeah.
So, again, because she's got this thing about not wanting to push herself forward or blow her own trumpet or for people to say she's...
And, she's a good example because she is phenomenally talented. And I know, because I'm a musician, I know, that is a terrible waste. Is she happy?
I don't know is the answer, Judith. I mean, I think life is got so complicated for her with
Yes. No need to say, but I know how many things. I know how many fingers in different pies she's got. Yeah.
And I think she's just getting to the stage where I think what will happen is the classical singing. Well, it doesn't seem to be falling off any, but it'll fall off a little bit eventually. She won't have to do so much travelling. The travelling really takes it out of her. She's off to Moscow next.
Yes, I saw that, and she can't go and see Gary Barlow. But still, my beating heart. I know that's tragic.
And she had the tickets in her hand.
Yes.
The Russian visa came through. But so I think once the travelling's out of the way, she would be able to concentrate on herself a little bit more. She has made noises about doing a second album with Dave, because their first album was gorgeous.
Yeah.
But then she had two friends who got sick back to back, and
I remember. Yeah.
So life has really got in the way. So I think she's just.
But she has quite a nice life, I think.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. But
so when I said is she happy, I meant is she happy with what you and I both regard as her underachievement commercially and artistically, yes. And actually, who cares? That's just because we love her and rate her so much. If she doesn't feel what we feel, then it's not really a problem.
I think the thing is she's worked with the best in her classical career.
Yeah.
So she doesn't feel the need to be so
she's fulfilled.
Jazz, yeah.
She's fulfilled musically. Yeah, I get that. It was a bit like how I was when I sold my accounting business. Nothing left to prove, now done that. Thanks very much. I get that. And travelling that she has to do with the professional singing would drive me insane. And things like that rob the joy out of the thing that you love, don't they?
Yeah, so if we were starting anything again, it would have to be practically and physically easy to do. So, you didn't have to do any of that business, all of, Moscow at 4 a.m.
No, quite. And I think the thing, if I were, say, starting a new life in Stupor, and it's different because you went there with a plan of what you wanted to do for a living, and you have a plan now for what you want to do for a living. But if I, let's say, was having a 6 months off, I would see what opportunities came my way.
I tell you, Steph and I don't talk about this all the time. She's come up with a fantastic idea for gift baskets from the Marnie, and helping all the artisan producers in the area, of which there are many, collating their stuff into gift baskets, selling them to the tourists while they're here, and then getting them,
having them shipped,
and it's such a great idea, and it would be so much fun, and it would be so. And then she says, "Oh, but I'm supposed to be retired."
Yes, I know. And you know how it could be done? It could be done in the automatic customer way, like the shave basket, where you have a repeat order of Marnie olives or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and oil and honey and
a subscription.
Stuff. And you've actually just given. I mean, there's no reason at all why one couldn't make an Amazon FBA business out of this.
Well, there you go. It's even better because then you're not packing and shipping and taking it to whatever the shop's called that acts as the post office.
But then I'm Katerina's, and then we have these conversations over a couple of glasses of wine, and we all get enthused and excited. And then I say, "Yes, but I've got 4 hours podcast editing."
Well, and then the other thing is, of course, then there's the work.
Yes, there is the work.
And I'm not. I mean, that's why the question is difficult. You're starting over age 63. Well, I don't really want to work very hard anymore. Thanks very much.
Yeah. And I do have a sci-fi book to write that I never.
Exactly. And I've got a book to read, and I don't want to be too sedentary. But we relish a new challenge as an entrepreneur. Obviously, it's like, we like the idea bit. It's hard picking something that you would be happy to nail your colours to for a longish period of time, long enough to make it work.
And also, that could be done with, there's lots of cheap labour out there. It could be done getting other people to do all the work, but then you've got the hassle of managing.
Oh, but people are so unreliable. Yeah. No, it's really hard. The fact is we don't know. You're going to do an FBA. Yours is the best one. You're going to do an Amazon FBA store. I know there's a demand for mine, but I'm not sure I want to do it because it's more sitting down. And actually, if I'm about to, at some point, retire, I don't want to do more sitting down. I want to do, I don't know, something walky. I don't know, really.
But you don't need to do it all the time, do you? I think that's the thing, it's our black and white thinking. We think that if we were starting again, we'd have to work on it all the time. Whereas, you could start something that didn't need you there all the time, so you could go out and do your walking and your bending and your gardening.
I was going to say my problem is, I don't think it's a problem actually, I don't want to do anything with other people anymore because I prefer being responsible only to myself.
Yes, and that is my default mode as well. But
I've had other people in all formats over the decades, and none of the formats are better than just me. Starts with me, ends with me, better. Really, but I'm just sort of squinting at my screen and thinking, well, it's not just a city downy from the point of view of physical fitness. It's ruined my eyesight peering at screens.
You don't know that's what's caused it. We all get old and have bad eyesight.
It's worsened it. We know that. I don't know, and I still don't know, but I think yours is a good idea. How about that?
Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see. I mean, I just got to the point where I kept hearing about people doing it and succeeding with it. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I could learn to do this if I just stopped telling myself that it's going to be too detail orientated.
Two people that we know and admire partnered up to do this together. I'm not going to name names, but it was a terrible damp squib. But I think they're still holding stock of the thing. Anyway, going back to the point you made at the beginning about Lisa, I had a fantastic consultation with her because she sells these Think cards, and we worked out that my book would lend itself very well to that. And she explained to me how, you have 100 things, she prints them up and she delivers them direct to Amazon and they're sold as a companion piece to my book. Nice.
Yes, I love that idea.
Yeah. I haven't got around to it yet because, it's not
what?
Like I've run out of things to do. But, it's not like I've run out of things to do. You just need more time all of the time, don't you?
I know. It's pathetic, really. We just, the summer's coming now. I've got a lot of sunbed lying on.
Oh, quite, yes.
Okay, so that's us done on the starting again front. Yeah. I think we've decided we pretty much wouldn't, would we?
Well, yes, I don't know, and you've got a good idea, but listener, if you're in our Facebook group, or if you're not, please join our Facebook group. Come on in and tell us what you would start if you were starting over again, because I did put it on Facebook, and in some places it was very... I don't know what you call it, productive. Lots of people came forward with good ideas. None that helped me come up with my own answer, but good ideas of their own. And in some places it was like crickets, as you always say. Nobody either had an opinion or cared, which was rather interesting. But
okay, so word of the week then.
Well, mine is professional. And funnily enough, I've had a conversation in one of my groups already about professionalism this morning. My clients who come from corporate life have a real hangover about being professional. And funnily enough, it's going to be an issue for you tomorrow as well, professionalism, because they talk about it as, the profession and the industry of coaching. I think it's time to review. My notes say this, and I wrote them last week, even before your context of tomorrow. It's time to review what professionalism means out here in the world of entrepreneurship. Funnily enough, I've been writing about this topic earlier today. Yeah, so I don't know whether your coaches tomorrow, your audience, are they 100% self-employed, or are some of them associates working in big coaching?
Yeah, most of them are either working in corporate or...
so professionalism is important to them. Yeah, it's an uneasy marriage, professionalism and an entrepreneurship, I think, in a way. And you're representing the entrepreneurs tomorrow.
I'm representing the Mavericks, me, man.
Yes, quite.
I'm going to be wearing a pair of Nike trainers.
What's your word?
It's family, because I've been having such a lovely time with seeing all the family. And, equally, I'm perfectly fine in stupor when I don't see them all the time. But I was thinking about the whole thing about what makes being with family so good. And I think it's just the fact that they know you inside out, you know them inside out, his shared history and the jokes and all that stuff. I think it's just, that's what makes it good. But that's my word.
Okay.
Project updates then.
I don't really have anything in here. I could squeeze one out, but honestly, I don't really have one in here.
Well, we made $7.
Saw it. We've overtaken me.
I know. $7 overall from Radio Public from this podcast.
Yeah. And I felt really good about that. I know it's only $7, but it's recurring, isn't it? Or growing. It grows is what I mean.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing about it is that 150 of our episodes have got adverts in them, so we're not getting paid on those. So that's $7 made on just the episodes since, I think.
Yeah, which is about 130-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, so it might be worth paying someone to go back and cut out the ads and
so it's only on 130, and it's only on if people listen on the app, and it's only if they listen to halfway through. So actually, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, when you add in all those provisos, it is
quite. Yeah.
And then I was going to tell you about the Amazon FBA project, but I've told you about that.
Yes, you have. Yeah, but is there anything you haven't told us in the doing of it that you'd like to tell us in here?
No, not really. I watched the first module of videos and thought, no.
You haven't made up your mind yet what you're going to sell, or you don't care?
Yeah,
it's irrelevant.
We've got a brand. It's for middle-aged, luxury-orientated not digital nomads so much, but world nomads, I'm calling them, because they aren't necessarily earning a living while they're...
Yes, or online, yeah. So world nomads is nice, actually. It's a better brand than digital nomads. Did you see the expose of digital nomadism?
No.
Oh, I put it in the podcast group, I think. And Andrea, who's our most experienced digital nomad, I knew she would resonate with it, because being a proper digital nomad where you keep on the move is bloody hard.
Yeah. Did you see Michelle Dale's in Georgia, Sibley? You know where? Oh, Nelson.
No.
You're in the podcast, Nels.
She's gone to where Alan Forrest Smith and his partner have got houses. You know, they've got holiday apartments in Sibley.
Georgia, Russia, or Georgia, America?
No, Georgia and Russia.
Oh, God, Tbilisi.
Beautiful.
Not Tbilisi, is it?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
My word. God, that's a bit rustic for me.
Well, she's gone to, they're from Egypt. And she's there with their kids and her partner, and they're working from there. And I just wondered if perhaps she'd rented Alan Forrest Smith's apartments.
Possibly.
So interesting, anyway. Yeah, I think she does sort of... But they've got a base in Crete, haven't they? So they go back to Crete in the winter.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's about. It's not necessarily travelling every 2 weeks. It's about having longer periods in places.
Well, I mean, I think we are lightweights, really, because you've got 2 homes essentially.
Yeah.
And really, I move around, but only once a year.
I do want to do more travelling, but it'll wait till next year. I want to have a big year of travel next year.
Yes, I don't think Stupa is a handy place from which to travel the world. Because you've got to come to a European hub to go on, haven't you?
Well, Athens is a European hub, but it's only 2.5 hours away.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so can you go? Where can you go to from Athens that you want to go to?
You can go to Australia, you can go to America, you can go anywhere.
Oh, okay, cool. Such a sweat box, though. Athens is such a sweat box, isn't it? So crowded and difficult to get around and breathe.
Well, you don't have to actually stop in Athens. You just go straight to the airport, which is air conditioned and very.
But any Greek holiday that begins with an overnight stop in Athens, which so many of them do, is like, oh no, thanks.
Oh, well, you see, I know.
Not that it isn't totally beautiful. It is. I mean, the Parthenon by moonlight is just like phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't feel any need to see that because I'm not obsessed with ancient Greek like a lot of people.
No, I am a bit actually.
Really?
Not enough to suffer, physical discomfort. But sitting in a bar, looking at the, which I've done, sitting in a bar, looking at the Acropolis and all that kind of stuff by moonlight is breathtaking.
Oh, I never knew that about you. Right, moving on. Who or what's impressed?
Well, there was a story went round on Facebook last week, which I shared, which put me in mind of one of my clients because her husband has a brewery. Well, actually, 2 of my clients' husbands have breweries, but there was one that I had in mind in particular because this story triggered it. And it's it wasn't the story of, but it was a story put out by Brewdog. Have you heard of Brewdog?
I have heard of Brewdog, yes.
Yeah, Brewdog, get this, they didn't even pass the screen test for Dragon's Den. So they didn't get in front of the dragons, okay? Right. They couldn't get on the telly in 2009. And had they got on the telly, they wanted to pitch for £100,000. Have you got a pen?
Yeah.
Write this down. Yeah. They wanted to pitch for £100,000 in 2009 for 20% of the company.
Yeah.
They say it still smarts today that they didn't pass the screen test, but their company is now worth £1.8 billion.
Billion?
£1.8 billion, and it still smarts they didn't get on screen. But the cool bit about this, they went on instead to create their own capital raising platform called Equity for Punks.
Equity for Pubs?
Punks, Punks. So, any ordinary Joe could invest in Brewdog.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get past the screen test to get in front of the dragons. But actually, and the article says it's still smart. So I'm thinking, get over it. You're worth 1.8 billion. But it's interesting, isn't it, that what you hang on to on your journey up, I'm imagining their 100K could have given them a little bit of acceleration. But this way, they're not in hock to Peter Jones.
And they haven't given away 20% of their company.
No, well, they've probably only given away something to the punks, to some of the bigger investing punks.
Yes.
But actually, they own a business worth 1.8 billion.
Equity for punks.
Since 2009, that's only 29 to 18. That's less than 9 years.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Isn't it? Yeah. And I don't even drink beer. But anyway, that's my who or what's impressed.
Right. Well, as you may have seen on Facebook, we had a bit of an alarm the other night.
Yes.
Heather and Richard had been there 2 nights. On the second night, I was sleeping 2 doors down, and there were lots of hooting and tooting and horns and shouting and lots of people banging on doors. And I finally got up thinking, what on earth's going on? Because it's usually really quiet at night around our way. And there was a whole swathe of the olive grove above us was on fire. Okay. And there were big fires, there were little fires, there was a howling. It was actually really, really, really windy that night. And it's a warm wind, and it was bringing the fire. The wind
fire
was
closer to you.
Well, it was bringing it down to us, but it was going off at an angle towards the gorge. So but the thing I was so impressed with was there's only one fire engine on the whole peninsula, and that's maintained by charitable donations. The firefighters were all volunteers, and the people that came to knock us up, and I staggered out into the garden, and there was a young guy there who could only have finished his waiting shift 3 hours before, and Philanthropy was there, who is Elias's daughter, who manages Pefco Taverna, and she was there organising everyone, and they're all volunteers, and I was just so impressed with it. And within an hour and a half, all of the fires in this olive grove were put out, and it was safe to go back to bed again. And I just thought that was just astonishing, because it could have been so much worse. It turned out it was someone who'd been clearing their olive groves, and they'd put a fire, they burnt the clippings, and they'd gone off, and the high winds had fanned the sparks, the embers again.
Embers, yeah.
But then once it took hold, of course, the sparks went everywhere, and olive trees burn like crazy. They're like torches. So it could have been a whole lot worse. Some friends of ours were actually evacuated from their houses, but we didn't need to be. But the police were there. There's not that many police in the area either, but everyone did a really good job, and everyone worked together, and I was just so impressed.
You bring up something there which my hostess and I have discussed over the bank holiday weekend, and which makes me realise why I can't think of anything in the focus section that I want to do for a business, but I can think of endless amounts of things I want to do as a volunteer.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I read this really fascinating article about, well, some people have given up their jobs and turned it into a business, but many, many people do it just on a everyday voluntary basis, which is they clear up the beaches. They just walk along the beaches and pick up all the shit that lands up on the beach, from things we flush, things that accidentally fall in, things that people throw over the edge of a ferry or a cruise boat. And it's massive, and you are making a massive change to the ecosystem and the world. There you go. And that's not a city down job. I'd love to do that, walk the beaches and pick up stuff. And we also felt sorry. And if you have to bleep this one out, you do have to bleep it out. We felt sorry for the women and girls in the world, and they're not in the third world, they're in the UK as well, who cannot afford sanitary protection. And we thought if we made it our life's work to make sure that every woman had the dignity of that would just be, every woman and girl had the dignity of that would be so life-changing for so many people.
I don't know how people manage without it.
Well, many girls in the UK now have to choose between school lunch and sanitary protection.
That is terrible.
It's awful, isn't it? But the world is full of things I'd love to make a difference to, but I don't necessarily want to do it commercially.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? I've just realised when you use the word volunteers about your fire engine people.
Well, that's just Greek practicality again. I'm sure they would, they're doing it out, because they
I totally agree. Just like people who go out on the lifeboat in the UK are volunteers.
But they were all so kind, and Elias took in loads of the people who were evacuated into his own house and his own apartments.
Well, just imagine how meaningful that would be. Talk about a life of meaning, as Lisa's thing is called. Yeah. Making a difference with your life. No wonder I couldn't think of anything I wanted to do commercially. My head is just, and heart is full of stuff I want to do that helps people.
Yes. And as long as you've got the awareness.
And it only needs to be a tiny thing. I don't need to do sanitary protection and beach combing. I only need to do one. One human being only needs to do a smallish thing to make a difference in the world.
Yes. It's a bit like the story about the starfish, isn't
it? Yes, it is.
You're not making a difference to all of those. Yeah, but I'm making a difference to this one.
Picking one thing that I spent making the focus of my next 40 years that made a difference in a small way to the planet is something that really lights me up.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear what you choose.
I know. Thank God you used that word volunteer in the last section. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got it. Brilliant.
It pulled the whole thing together, didn't it?
It did. See you next week, darling. You'll be back in Stupa, won't you? Oh, no. This week you're still in the UK because we're doing it on Thursday.
Yes.
Where will you be? Where you are now, at Irving's?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll see you on Thursday. I don't know how we're going to make news between. Oh, you'll have news because you'll have been to London about, but I'm not sure how I'll make news for Thursday's gig, but I'll see you then.
Well, I think you need to go and find out about women and sheds.
Yes, I will find out about women's sheds. It's women's sheds. So I think it was, there's men's sheds. That makes perfect sense what men do in a shed. What do women do in a shed? Presumably the same thing, but it might be a sort of Native American knitting and tea drinking thing. Yeah. I don't know. I'll find out.
Ruth Morgan, off you go.
See ya. Yeah. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.